Day. I'm Amber Fox, NTCA 5-Star Contractor Director. I hope all of you and your families are healthy and safe. Today's webinar is titled Busy Busy Time Tracking and Job Site Data. busybusy is the industry leader in time tracking software that focuses on labor costs and reducing liability. It's voted #1 for reliability and ease of use with industry-leading GPS and project reports. busybusy is focused on making construction companies more profitable and management less stressful. Those of you who have followed the NTCA webinar series, you know that I have some business to take care of. Today's webinar will be muted. Please use the questions area on your computer to type in your questions. We will answer your questions at the end of this presentation. All of our webinars are available to watch at any time on the NTCA YouTube channel shortly after the webinars are presented. Please go to the NTCA YouTube channel and subscribe, and you will be notified of all upcoming NTCA videos, including all technical webinars, giving you easier access to watch all current and past programs at your convenience. We will no longer have them archived on the NTCA website. If the audio on your computer is poor, call the number on your invite to the webinar to listen on your phone. Today's speaker, Derek Shakespeare, worked on his first construction site when he was 16 years old and fell in love with the industry. Derek has spent most of his career in sales and marketing. The most recent 8-year run has been as an executive in charge of revenue for 2 different companies, one of them being busybusy. They targeted him as a critical hire to bolster up their executive team as they prepared for their next round of growth. The opportunity to work in the construction industry again while also remaining in the software world was something he couldn't pass up. So I'd like to introduce Derek.
Hey everyone. Thanks, Amber. So to introduce a little bit more about myself and my partner here on the call, Dustin Chapman. So we both work at busybusy. Busy as an organization, we've been around about 10 years. And as Amber said, we've been identified by multiple magazines and multiple polls as the leading time tracking job site intelligence software in the construction industry. And all we do is construction. So you'll notice when we get into the app that we are very, very specific about helping your job sites become more profitable. It's one of the biggest differentiators between us and other products is rather than trying to build a product for all industries, we build it for contractors, and we're very intentional about making sure that contractors stay in business and become more profitable than they've ever been. Dustin Chapman is the senior account executive here at busybusy, and he will chime in throughout the call to help make sure we're covering the right things on the software. Additionally, the chat that you guys will find on your screen, he will be manning that chat. So anybody that has any questions throughout, please don't feel like by sending that chat message that you're interrupting at all. Please ask questions while I'm talking so that they're top of mind for you. And as we're reviewing questions, if it's something really, really specific to something that I'm showing at the moment, he'll interject and answer that question. And then he'll also be taking notes throughout for any questions that we want to make sure and save and address at the end of the webinar. So we'll be really organized about this, try to keep it clean for you guys and have it be as beneficial as possible. To start a little bit as far as product differentiations about busybusy and why you find so many contractors throughout the world using our product, and for additional context on that, we have about 30,000 contractors that use our product every single day. We're in 32 different countries and really, really heavy throughout the US, of course. And our headquarters are in St. George, Utah, which is about 2 hours from Las Vegas. Dustin's up more in the Salt Lake, Utah area. But we have representatives in California and Colorado, and the beauties of technology is that we cover the East Coast just as easily as we do the West Coast because it's all screen sharing. So our product, from a holistic standpoint, one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we could do is to be able to facilitate time tracking for any contractor, no matter the size and no matter their preference. And so the first thing that we really have focused on is making sure that no matter how people want to keep time, that they can keep time with busy. And so like the first thing on our website that we really feature here is there are 3 different ways that you can track time. There's employee-based time tracking, which is where each employee would use their individual mobile phone to clock in and clock out. There's supervisor time tracking, where the supervisor can manage their entire crew, and then there's a kiosk time tracking. And so we'll go through each of those independently and show you how each of those work, how they tie together. Again, when we're talking about product differentiation, one of the big things that separates us from a lot of other people, because we are building this product specifically for contractors, we understand that contractors spend the majority of their time trying to manage liability and payroll. And so that's where our focus is. So you'll see as we go throughout this, there are a lot of things inside the product that help reduce your liability on every job site with every employee that you have. The product itself, when you have somebody clocking in, they would have an app right here on their phone, and they would just come down here, and when they clock in, you'll notice one of the first things that it does from a trigger standpoint is I have not signed my time card from last week. So time ended on Friday, it's Monday morning, and I come in to clock in for work. The first thing that it does is it prompts me so that you as ownership and administrators are not having to chase the employees down every single week to get a signed time card. Also, when you talk about liability, I'm sure many of you know, we are supposed to have 2 years worth of signed time cards on file at all times. We store these historically forever for you. So when somebody clicks in here, they would view their time card. It would show their hours and the days. You can choose whether you only have an employee signature here, or if you also want a supervisor to sign off on that time card. When the employee clicks on press here to sign, they're able to sign that time card, and you're off and running. That notifies the supervisor that the time card has been signed, and now it's Monday morning and I can clock in for the morning. When you go to clock in, you'll notice the really clean, easy to use interface. Again, really distinct, unique advantage that we have. Our lead design guy here at busybusy was a concrete guy for 12 years. So every time we add a feature to the product, his first question is, would the guys that I used to work with use it if we've designed it this way? So they come here, they click clock in. You see that it grabs a GPS location here, and we wanted it visibility. This has really improved morale as far as a level of trust between employee and employer. We're not trying to hide anything. The employee sees the GPS location, the employer is able to see the GPS location, and when they clock in, it grabs that GPS location. This improves a lot of different things inside a company. When you have the GPS location that we have and the ability to do what we do, not only does it improve accountability, but it also improves a lot of billing, because now if you have a GC or a client who pushes back on you and says, hey, I don't know if your guys were here during those times, can we actually sit down and go over your bill and negotiate? We have had story after story after story. In fact, we had an excavator just a couple months ago who told us that he had submitted a $150,000 bill to a general contractor, and the general contractor came back and said, hey, I'd like to sit down and review this. Your hours seem a little bit high on this. He was able to pull up a busy project report, show all the GPS locations, and the general contractor who wanted to settle the bill at $110,000 was able to confidently pay $150,000. He was happy to do it, and it's improved the relationship. So a lot of value out of the GPS. When an employee clocks in, they're able to choose a project. You'll notice a couple things again about the design of the product. Number one, The most recent projects that I as an employee have clocked into are here at the top. The nearby projects, because of GPS, it'll grab the closest projects to where my location is and pull those up in case I haven't clocked into one. And then the entirety of the projects are down at the bottom. So when I clock in, go to the McNeil residence, and then I'm able to choose my job costing. So you've got your waterproofing, your hoisting, floor prep, grouting. I'm going to be grouting today, and if there's any additional description that you would like the employee to include, that would be here. They're off and running. Now, the nice thing is once the employee is clocked in, it's even easier to switch than it is to originally clock in. So when an employee goes to switch what they're doing and they go switch, they're already clocked into the McNeil residence and they're grouting. If they jump over, and I should have chosen perhaps floor prep to move to waterproofing next, but you can see even if I'm going to go from the McNeil residence and say that I'm going to switch to go drive time, and you want to attribute that drive time to the McNeil residence, well, now I want to attribute it over to Bakersfield Heart Hospital because that's where I'm going. Then I would click done, and then once I get to the Bakersfield Heart Hospital, the nice thing that this product is going to do is whenever you put a project inside of busybusy, you create a geofence around it. That geofence will then prompt your employee as they left the McNeil residence, if they forgot to switch, saying, hey, it looks like you've left the McNeil residence, would you like to clock out? Then they'll be able to switch. Same thing as I enter into the Bakersfield Hospital, it would pull up a location-based reminder and let me know that I've gotten to the hospital, would I like to update? And then I can hit switch, and instead of being at travel time, I can go here, and then I can update to start doing my floor prep at room 533 at the hospital. Okay, so this is all employee level clocking in and clocking out. From a liability standpoint, when you have an employee who is clocked in to the hospital at room 533, they have the ability right here. Photos are becoming more prevalent every day with every contractor we talk to, especially when you talk to attorneys who are in construction law. Recommendation after recommendation is they're constantly saying, please have your employees take photos at the end of every day to show work accomplished, so that way we can show the work was accomplished and that it was done. You don't have any arguments with subcontractors about if tile was set properly and then a guy came and stepped on the tile, whose fault it was because there was a photo taken. If there's a lawsuit years later, you have all that documentation because you can go back. That employee clicks on photo, and when they take a picture here, don't mind my office, I just switched offices last week, you can see that it already has attributed that photo to the project and to the specific room, as well as to that job code. So I can go back later and look that photo up. In the photo section here, again, from a liability and lawsuit standpoint, if you come over to the software on the computer, here's your photos and notes section. So you can come into your photos and notes. Here are the different photos that were taken. Let me move my phone out of the way so you can see the different filters. I can filter that based on a specific date. I can filter it based on a project, and I can filter it based on an employee. So if an employee gets let go because they did poor work and you need to show documentation that they had or had not provided, again, a million different ways to use this, but we are interested in helping you manage your liability as well as your work accomplished throughout your project. So once an employee finishes up their day and they come here to clock out at an employee level, we further manage the liability a couple different ways. when an employee clicks here and goes clock out, one of the things, as we have talked to more and more construction attorneys, is they have advised to the next step of helping contractors reduce liability is to capture a non-injury report. They've mentioned that a lot of contractors have gotten very, very good at documenting injuries, but where they're leaving themselves open for liability is by not documenting when injuries don't happen. Because if Dustin Chapman decides to come back and tell the CEO of busybusy that he got hurt on a job 6 months ago and he told his supervisor, but I didn't report it, there's no documentation showing whether he did or didn't get hurt. And so what we've done at Clockout is an employee very easily just clicks, were you injured? No. If they do click yes, it can notify whomever you choose at the office. That's part of the settings. And there's also a time accuracy that yes, my time is correct. So you now, from a legal standpoint, you have a sign off each day showing that the time is correct and there was no injury. So that way that cannot come back on you later because you're capturing a non-injury report. Another thing from an employee level, employee-based time tracking. If you look at how easy this product can be to use for employees, you'll notice over here in the software side, there's the menu for scheduling. This can be done on the phone, as you'll see here with scheduling, or it can be done by the office here. When the office pulls up a schedule, we are motivated for the highest level of employee engagement, so we want to make this as easy on the office and as easy on the employees as possible. So the office has a lot of different filters that you can see here to view the calendar a lot of different ways. But when the office puts in something on a calendar, the unique thing that we're able to do is to make it really easy for you to get the best job site data available with an employee, because the employee doesn't even have to clock in here. If you notice down here at the bottom of the phone, there is an icon for a schedule. The employee can show up, click on their schedule, and know exactly what they're supposed to do today. They can see the project, they can see what the job code is. This GPS location will take me exactly to that project if I don't know where it is because I've never been there before. And I can clock in just by simply clicking clock in here. There's the project, the job code, the GPS, and I'm done. I am now clocked in. So another way for an employee to easily clock in with a project manager, just being able to be ahead of the game and putting that in the scheduling software. Now, from a supervisor level, a lot of our tile companies that use our product right now love for employees to clock in and out, but they love for the supervisors throughout the day to update the job costing. And then we have another group of a lot of our tile companies who say, hey, I don't want the employees individually clocking in. I would like the supervisors to be able to do it. No matter your circumstance, we have over here an entire section built out for the supervisors to manage their crew. So there's a Supervisor Tools section, and when you click on that, I can see my crew. Now, if I need to add somebody to the crew, all I do is I come up here, I click Manage Crew, and I can add Rem to the crew because he showed up today and he's not normally on there. You can see who has currently clocked in on my crew and who has not. If I need to clock in Kyle and Rem because they don't have phones, I click here, I go clock in. I would choose both of them if they both got there at 8 a.m. And then I would choose the project, the job code, and we're off and running. If they leave at different times, then I can clock them out by just simply clicking here on Kyle and clocking him out. If for some reason Rem had a had a phone call from, and he had an emergency and he had to leave. And so he called me later that night and said, "Hey, Derek, I forgot to clock out. Can you clock me out?" Then what I have the ability to do, and let's do that with Greg because he's been clocked in longer. What I would do is I would come over here with Greg and I can do clock out at. And I'm able to come back here and say, Greg had a family emergency. He left at 11:15, and I'm able to update Greg and manage that for him. From a safety sign-off standpoint, the supervisor still has all the ability to capture all of these signatures. Even if the supervisor is the only one on the site that has the phone, they can come down here. They can see the time entries of their entire crew. They can see live totals, employees and hours, and then there's a safety sign off. We've got new notifications. Okay, so this tells me exactly what's going on with my crew. 4 people have not signed, no time issues, no injuries. If Greg doesn't have his phone because his phone broke and he's able to sign that, he can just click right here on the supervisor's phone, say he was not injured, time was correct. This is all optional. So again, to really focus on the ease of use of our product, job costing can be added. It's completely customizable. The amount of projects and sub-projects and phases of a project is completely customizable. If you want your GPS to be required by certain employees, that is customizable. If you want it to be optional for some employees, you can choose that. If you want to shut GPS off for certain employees, you can choose that. So all of these features that I'm showing, this is not the software is going to work like this for your company. This software has been built in a completely customizable way, and here are different options that you and the people at your company will have the ability to manage this product in a way that works best for you. Here's a pay period. Yes,
sorry,
Dustin.
go back there to the timer. The Supervisor Tools section is one of my favorites. Go click on the 3 dots all the way to the top right. One of my favorite features here too, and Derek was mentioning the customizability. With your foreman, you can even give them permissions as well. If you don't want them to be able to edit time and just record it, you can do that. Or if you do want them to be able to record it, you can go to that entry screen. The 3 down at the bottom there, the 3 options, clock in at, out at, and switch at, those are one of my favorite features for foreman, because what happens a lot of the time we see on job sites is, everybody got there at 7 to start work. Maybe the foreman had to run to the supply house to pick up some things, or he had to get a set of plans, something like that. He didn't get there till 7:30. Well, he needs the ability, like Derek was showing on the clock out at, to be able to clock in at 7 a.m. too. Or maybe they're switching projects and forgot to do that a half hour ago. He can switch people out as of 30 minutes ago when it should have been as well. The idea behind the entire Supervisor Tools section is to give your foreman or your lead guys as much ability to see what's going on with their crew and interact with it on a daily basis in real time as possible. So you see there, Derek's switching us and saying, okay, as of 10 minutes ago, we should have been switched to another project because we forgot to do it.
I'm going to add a little something here too. One thing that I like is that if you have, let's say, a project engineer that's at the office, they can log in and maybe see kind of what's going on that project without having to be there physically. And so I feel like it's a great way to maybe, if you have someone that's running your crews from the office, the overall or project engineer, something like that, they can have some insight as to what's going on there without having to physically be there.
Yeah, good point, Amber. Thank you for mentioning that. So you can pull up this map, and we have companies who have TVs in their office that have this map because it's a real-time map, and so they'll just project this map up on a TV. And you can see up here the different sections at the top. If you want to see where projects are, if you want to see where your hoisting machinery is, if you want to see where employees are. So you can see here's the Bakersfield project that we're clocking into. You can see who's clocked into it and exactly what they're doing. From an employee standpoint, here's an employee. You can see their location. And once you click on that, you can see who that employee is, and you can see what they're working on. From a reporting standpoint, you can come in to your reports and grab that project activity. Once you've seen, oh, I didn't realize that employee was working on that project today. Well, you can look to see, have they been working on that project all week? Because I haven't been paying attention to this. So here's a weekly view of that project. There's also a monthly view, or you can customize it by pay period or by specific dates. But here, let me just drag that down and hide it. This is what the month of August has looked like for this company, the NTCA. These are the projects that they're working on, and these are the dates. You can see the majority of the hours have been attributed here. Well, if I want to see what that cost is, I can see who's been working there, and I can look at the details here to understand a little bit more about that. Between my video feed and my webinar, my internet might be bogged down a little bit. There we go. So here are the dates that Amber has worked on that project. Here's what she was doing. If I want to see the GPS location, I can just click on that here. That would give me the locations. You can see different end times, start times, all those different things. Location recorded, it tells you how far outside of the project that was, which is why it marked it red, so that way it gives me an immediate notification. A lot of data in the field. One of the things that we take the most pride in, our average contractor who implements busy, and this is case study backed, averages increasing their profitability by 30% within the first 12 months of implementing our product. And it goes back to these project reports, it goes into employee reports, there's job costing reports here. So similarly, if you want to look at your job costing, you can drill into that, and you can drill into it at a project level, or you can look at them independently.
Derek, go back to that. Go click on the one of the cool parts about that project activity too is there's some, even from that view, if you go up to the column view up at the right corner, you can choose, even from this view to see what you want to see there as well as an overview feature too. So if you want to see the hours or the overtime or the cost, you can check those boxes and it'll physically show up there on that screen.
From a practical standpoint, I also want to mention that when you can come into this app and log in and see a snapshot of where everybody is and what's going on, that's less time that you're spending on the phone calling them. When they're answering the phone to let you know, yes, I'm here, I'm working on this, that takes time away from being productive. And so I feel like it helps, that's another layer of productivity where you're not interrupting them so that they have to take a call and stop doing floor prep, what they're there to do, because you already know they're working on floor prep and they're already at the location, especially things like residential, stuff like that. So if someone calls, you can confidently say, yes, they're there and they're working on this, and you not have to bother and stop them from what they're doing.
We are constantly told one of the biggest things that improves the profitability is people didn't realize the opportunity cost of some of the things their employees were doing that disallowed them to be able to do the job that they really needed to do. I mean, even from a payroll level, when you look at the fact that this is so easy to access and run payroll, you click on this, your payroll's here. Depending on the software that you use, we're integrated with many software, so you can export this data into an easy report. If your accountant does your payroll for you, they can have a login to the product, but from your other major accounting softwares, everything from Sage to Foundation to QuickBooks to Xero, if you use a software that accepts an import, we can integrate into that software. So it's a couple clicks now for your payroll specialist to be able to run payroll. So now they can spend more time getting out invoices, calling accounts payable, accounts receivable, getting you more money in the door to order product quicker, which then allows you to do more jobs, maybe hire another employee. And so productivity goes through the roof in ways that people didn't really realize that they were lacking. Another report that you'll see in this reporting section, which will go to the third way that we track time, is this Kiosk Photos report. So this Kiosk Photos report is an interesting report because it uses artificial intelligence. So we have AI built into this to be able to send notifications to let you know when someone has clocked in for somebody else. So if I go back up here to my screen, and I'm going to go into the kiosk mode of the product, which you'll notice is down here. Kiosk mode can be accessed by any device, mobile, tablet, anything. It's often used by a supervisor when a tablet's left in a truck and people go into the truck to clock in. A lot of people are using it on a bigger job site, a commercial job site, where they'll have a technology trailer on site that they're going to clock into. Once you are marked into kiosk mode, this cannot be unlocked without the code. So you have kiosk here, and the advantage that kiosk has, there is not another software in the entire industry that gives you the ability to clock into a kiosk. So someone goes into a trailer and clocks in, but then the supervisor can use the supervisor tools on site to update the job costing so that you're getting better information to make more profitable decisions more accurately and more quickly. So when you go kiosk, you go here. I'm already clocked in here, so let me clock out, and then I'll show you exactly how to clock back in and what it looks like. Okay, and I just showed up for the day. You'll notice that it doesn't even give me a project choice here. The nice thing is when you set up kiosk, you can already pre-assign the project. So all they do is just say what they're going to be doing that day, and then it takes the photo. Once that photo is taken, our AI analyzes it, sends it over to the office, and lets you know that, hey, if you take a look at this photo right here, Derek Shakespeare clocked out for Kyle Stokes, and there's a 0 match. And if you look at how incredibly accurate this is, even when Dustin is wearing a hat, headset, glasses here, it's still a 99% match knowing that that is Dustin. So once someone is clocked into that kiosk mode, then you have the ability with that supervisor section to manage that crew. End of day. Daily reports has been a big thing. We hear from almost every single contractor that we talk to. The question, of course, is always, hey, do you guys do a daily report? And it's always, yeah, we do it, and we're looking for a better way to make it more efficient, or, you know what, we don't do it. It's just, it takes too much time. I know that we should. There's so much liability that's managed through a daily report. Efficiency goes up incredibly well from even an accountability standpoint of just employees seeing what they got done and what they didn't get done versus what they plan to do. So the unique advantage that we have being a time tracking product where we're already capturing the labor, every other daily report type product in the software industry that I've seen, people have struggled using it because the supervisor still is spending a ton of time putting the information in. Whereas with ours, if you take a look here, all the supervisor would do is they would come over to the project that they were working on, they would choose that project, and they click daily report. All the information is already in here. So when they click create report, they're going to click progress summary, and it'll pull all of the photos and notes that were done that day on that project in. The supervisor would choose if he wants to include them, and then they build the report, and it's going to auto-generate all of the information from that project that day. Now, when this project was put in, there was an address put in here, so it automatically takes the weather and attributes it. You can choose the time of day. So winter, when guys are starting later and leaving later, the weather would be based on start and stop times. And then summertime, when they're starting earlier and ending earlier, that can be based on start and stop times. And that's completely customizable. Here's your progress summary. You can see that this carpet needs to be torn out. They need to start floor prep. You can see that they're going to pull this baseboard off and put tile baseboards instead. Here are the employees on site. Amber hasn't checked out for the day, so we don't know correct time and injury, but these are the other employees. Correct time, no injuries, and here's the job costing on that project that day. The supervisor has the ability here to sign off on that. And then they also, when they sign it, the nice thing that they do here and you can see it'll give a sign signature complete, and I have the ability either just to submit it, which saves it inside of busybusy, so that way people at the office can accept it. Or if I hadn't done that, there was another icon there at the bottom that showed share. A lot of times you have the ability to text or email that right there before you even submit it back to the office if you want to share it to a specific GC, a different client, or something like that. So you've got, let's see, from a checklist of things that we covered, we've got the liability through safety. We're getting injury and non-injury reports. You've got your photo documentation to show the progress of the project. Your daily reports to help optimize efficiency. Where are we at on questions, Dustin? And is there something that I'm missing?
We are responding to them in real time. Nothing, all have been pretty specific questions, not necessarily things that, yeah, all very specific.
Okay.
Oh, there is one that possibly could be a good question to answer for the whole group. And that is, how do you track travel time separately than you do normal time, whether it's to a project or to its own cost code or its own project?
Okay.
And the answer, go ahead. You
No,
take that.
go ahead. You got it.
The answer to that is there's a few ways to do that in busybusy. A lot of it just depends on where you're placing that travel time. If it's being charged as an overhead expense, a lot of companies will set up a project and just call it drive time or travel time and have the guys clock in and out of that as they're doing that. You see right there, Derek's putting that. If you're charging that travel time to a job, a lot of companies will do exactly what you were showing here on Derek's phone. They'll set up either a cost code or what we call sub projects underneath a job and track it as an item there, and that way it is linked to the project. But we have that come up all the time. It's a very common thing. So we can track it. It just depends on how you guys bill that time.
And one thing to make sure you know with that question is we assign you a personal onboarding specialist to help walk through the process of how you would like to do it that best fits the way your business runs. And then you also have a very specific client success rep. After the first 90 days of your onboarding being successful, because we do have a 90-day guarantee. So we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. You have 90 days, 3 months to use our product. We guarantee you we will make you more money than we cost you, and that you have 100% satisfaction in every other way, or you get every dollar back. After that 90 days of the onboarding to ensure your success, you're turned over to a client success rep who you have a personal relationship with. So at any point, if you wanted to change the way that you were doing that travel time because of a particular client or anything, you can see from the software, it's pretty intuitive. but we still have people where you would just come either here inside the product. If you take a look and see that support chat, I can chat with my reps there, or same thing from the phone. One of the things we want to make sure of is the people back in the office aren't being bogged down by anybody in the field. So the field reps also have the ability here where you can see the support, where they can come to support, and they can have an in-field chat with anybody on our team as well.
Also, I think one thing that was different about your program is that it's scalable. You know, we're in construction and there are ups and downs throughout the year. And one thing that I liked is that what you guys do is you only charge for what you know, the access that you used each month. And so it's not a try and figure out what the average employees you have for the year, and then we'll do that. But if you have it where sometimes it's 5 and sometimes it's 15, you're really only paying for what you're using. And so can you maybe go into that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So the founder of our company, our CEO, owns 3 different construction companies himself. And so you can imagine he understands your pain of trying to buy a software and figure out how many seats you need and committing to paying $1,000 a month for a software, and then you only end up having $600 a month of usage. So you should be being charged $600, but you signed a contract. So one of the things that we have done from a fundamental standpoint of who we are is we said we will never ever charge a customer for something that they're not using. We will only make money if you are making money. We will only make money if you're successful and you're happy. So if you have 15 employees during the summer, at the end of a month, we reconcile that account and you're billed for the 15 employees. If you run down to 5 employees in the winter, like Amber's example, then you're billed for 5 employees. Same thing with our 300 employee companies. If you have 300 employees during the summer and you drop down to 220 in the winter, it doesn't change. It's per employee. And these employees that you're paying after all of your different insurance costs and everything else, your labor burden, your total cost for an employee is $5,000. You pay $10 to manage that employee, your most important asset. I mean, when you consider the cost of all of the other things to run your business, for $10, your labor, the liability, the injury reports, your schedule, all of those things are wrapped up in this. And if they happen to take a couple months off, you're not billed during those months. Another unique thing, Amber, that you were talking about as far as the way that we're very contractor friendly is we are adamantly against contracts. That was one of the things that I changed when I came here 4 years ago. As I said, we absolutely are not doing contracts. I've talked to enough contractors. They all want to use software, but they're all scared to death to do it because they're afraid what it'll look like if it doesn't go well. I'm not going to get somebody stuck in a contract where they're paying for something that they don't use. So not only do you have 90 days to guarantee that it works for you, you get every dollar back, even beyond 90 days, you are never stuck using busybusy. And the reason that we do that is not only for your success, short-term and happiness, but also for ours. We found that our product makes better decisions when they know there's no contract making people stuck with a crappy software. Our marketing team does a better job of identifying product market fits. Similar to Amber and I's conversations, the amount of extensive research that Amber and us did on making sure, and the nice thing is we have so many tile contractors already that we knew tile companies absolutely love the product, but we're adamant on making sure the sales process is the same way, rather than getting people into a process where we just do a demo and try to convince them to use us. We do what's called a strategy session where we sit down and learn about the customer, how they're currently tracking time, how they're currently managing liability, how they're currently doing photos, all of these things that people either are doing and not doing as well as they would like to, or aren't doing yet. And then we help them figure out a system to incrementally roll some of these processes out to a point that that they're using as much of the product as they would like to use. We have some people who use the scheduling and rave about it. Other people don't use it at all. Our intention is to make your life easier and better. And so our product billing is aligned that way.
Also, I'm not sure if you mentioned it or not, but as far as, staying up to date and like you said, giving your contractors what they need, you're in the process, and I think we'll be rolling out an update here that's in regards to COVID. And I think with going digital and having, it kind of ties into some of the safety things that you already had, but I think that might be worth talking about. Just reducing those touch points between employees, especially if one person, let's say they do get, tested positive, the less people that they've been in contact with, the better. So that something like this, going digital, checking in, could be very helpful to keep people like your foreman and others where they don't have to do a mandatory, 2 weeks off or anything like that.
Yeah. So going back to the phone on the checkout, and I'll walk you back through this. When an employee clocks out, they're able to say, no, I was not injured, and yes, my time is correct. We are currently building a feature, and let me pull up the design. I had my product manager send over the design work so that I could show it to you, to have a similar experience on clock in. So this is what it would look like on the iPhone. So what you have the ability to do here is you'll be able to mark on your company settings if you would like a COVID-19 check. And if you would like that 19 check, then you have the ability to set up those questions. Okay, and what it would do when an employee clocks in, if I can get this to expand big enough to see it, let me download it here. It's a little harder to access those downloads
Well, oh, there it goes.
while doing a screen share.
Maybe while he's doing that, Dustin, would you be able to answer one of the questions that came in from was when you say 30% more productive, do you mean if you don't use any time tracking software currently, or are you saying it will outperform other software programs? So just a little clarification on that.
Yeah, it's going to be both. I mean, really, if you're going from paper to this, you'll see it immediately. It's very quick. We see it every day. The increase will be there. If you're coming from another product to busy, there will also be an increase there. And the reason being, the features Derek showed, having the reporting out in the field, the multiple ways of tracking time, everything just being catered to contractors, it increases the productivity even over competitors that we have, just because it's a more complete and contractor focused product.
Yeah, and just to further emphasize what Dustin was saying there, the way that I answer it when somebody asks is it's specific. Our case studies have been based on profitability, and the profitability increase on average has been 30%. The way that I look at it, based on when you talk to the different contractors and look at it, is people who are using another software, generally their increase will be 10 to 20, and people who are going from paper generally will be 30 to 40. And so where it's fallen as far as a total average has been 30% increase in profitability based on what you were doing to what you can do here.
And then I have another question that's kind of based on I think it goes back to profitability as well, but is your program cost effective for a sole proprietor with no employees? And I think what that shows is that what it does is when you do keep better track of your time and how you're spending it on projects, with the if you've got a better idea of where your money's going on your projects, so that you could be more profitable when you bid those similar jobs and things like that. So maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, so I think the easiest way to answer that is to talk about our free product. So this is our website, and on the pricing page, you'll notice there's your 90-day guarantee, no contracts, you only pay for what you use. We do have a free product that is completely designed to replace paper. No one should ever use paper again, because if their only reason is, well, I don't want to pay for it, we'll use our free product. And we know, because software is so intuitive and gives you such a huge opportunity to become considerably more profitable, that people who start like a sole proprietor and just say, hey, I just want to use something and I want to do something free just so that I start to understand what my labor costs are. Because every job site, when you look at it, you know, your materials are pretty fixed. That's pretty easy to manage, but your labor, you will be shocked when you start to use our labor reports, how all over the place your labor costs are. And your estimates get so dialed in. You start to understand the type of work that you want. You start to understand the type of work that you don't want. But from a fundamental, hey, should I use this no matter how big or small I am? Generally, people who have 3 employees or less will use our free product. Now, I will say we still have a considerable amount who have a couple employees that use our pro, just because the product pays for itself so quickly. When you consider the only cost that you have on a monthly basis is $10 for that employee, you make that up. I mean, you have one lawsuit in federal labor laws. Not only do we increase your efficiency and productivity, but the liability management through the photos and notes, through the injury reports, through the GPS, through the breadcrumbing, being able to reconcile with a contractor or client, because our GPS has so much more flexibility and functionality. The product pays for itself very quickly, but everybody, you got to have milk before meat. So we have designed it intentionally to say, let us take you through the funnel of adopting software the way you're most comfortable.
Thank you. There's also another question here, and they were asking about some of the reports. Is there a way to print out the reports, whether it's for the time or the job, you know, or is it only digital?
Nope, totally printable, exportable. You can drop it in an Excel file. You can do whatever you would like with that report. So again, here's a report of project reporting. So let's go to that report monthly. And if you go here to Bakersfield Hospital, and we go into the details, you can see your print icons right here. You can download it as a CSV or you can print it. And again, Dustin pointed out earlier, you can also, if you want to just look at the labor burden, if you just want to look at during the summer months, we get a lot of people who talk about how much money they're saving because they'll have someone in the office just quickly check an overtime report on Wednesday to see how everybody's doing, managing overtime cost, being intentional about what projects you want overtime on and what projects you don't. There's just so much that can be done when you start to have this type of reporting. And again, this isn't just on your computer. If we ever get sports back, sounds like we might get a little bit of college football back in some places, you can be sitting on your couch watching a sporting event, and these reports are right here on your phone. You have the ability inside these reports to not only look at project activity reports. There's a really cool time card analysis report here. If you have employees, and you can see here who they clock in without a project, or they're, again, from a GPS settings, you can say, hey, Dustin Chapman, you're not allowed to clock in unless you're inside the geofence of a project, so they can't clock in. So if Dustin drives to a project and clocks in, but then he has to run to Home Depot to do something, it will show you in this report the locations, because it will breadcrumb him as he goes to Home Depot. It'll show you the locations that were grabbed outside of that project geofence that he was clocked into. So you can go here and you can click on that. You can look at the different dates, and then you can look at the different employees and see what projects they were clocked into, where they were clocked in versus where the project location is. And it's accessible on the web, it's accessible on mobile. There's extensive reporting that allows your company to become more efficient. And same thing from a company settings standpoint, from the web version. If you want to come in here to company settings, we can go into your timekeeping settings, and we move this down. You can see we can do all sorts of daily sign-off customization, payroll customization, time card approval customization, overtime settings.
Rounding, make sure you hit on the rounding. Some people, we usually keep those off on our demo project because we're clocking in and out so quickly, but a lot of contractors, we build straight lines and think in round numbers, and people want that too. So that is possible as well.
Yeah. And then your employee settings are here as well. So when I come in to Amber, I can work through these GPS settings here. Like I mentioned, here's your not required, required, or off. So if Amber's a fantastic employee and I know I want to roll this out, and she's the only one that it's like, hey, I don't want to upset the apple cart here because she's great and I don't want GPS on her, and it never has to deal with client-side billing, so I'm never going to have to reconcile anything with the GC. Because again, like there's so many different advantages of having GPS in here that we really want to think through it. And it's one of the things we really focus on helping contractors roll this out, is explaining to their employees that this helps with billing, that this helps from a conflict resolution. And this helps an ownership and an office staff with conflict resolution, whether it be with an employee because you don't know where they were, or from a customer because you can prove where the employees were. So conflict resolution from the photos and the GPS is a big, big part of what we do and how we are able to reduce so much stress. And again, I think that's why you see our profitability spike so high with customers for the first 12 months, is you mentioned the word productivity, Amber, but productivity goes up, which increases profitability, but stress goes down, which increases profitability, because now each individual office person can start to focus more on things that make the company money. And so they can do revenue generating activities.
Mm-hmm. So we are getting close to our time, and I want to be respectful of everybody here that's taken the time to join us. And I want to take a moment. Do you have a slide that you could put up with your contact information so that they can maybe follow up with some direct questions and, you know, any additional things? Because it's hard to cover everything because you do have so many areas that you can customize and to work with your company. And I think that's what I really liked about you guys for what you do, is it's made from contractors for contractors. I love that you have that free version for the companies that maybe want to first get their feet wet and kind of understand how that's going to work. And you know, knowing that you're not going to get the full functionality as with the paid one, but I think in some of our conversations that you had mentioned that your paid version has, you know, is maybe equal to some other paid, or I'm sorry, your free version is equal or better than some of those paid versions out there. And so I felt like for those who are nervous about making that change, it might be a good transition over to maybe start there. But I think more importantly, it's good for them to reach out to you to directly to see what they want to accomplish and which program would get them there. And I think you guys have been very honest and upfront with people as to what is the best fit, and I liked that.
Yep. And we do that, and we don't shy away from it. People who are really, really price sensitive and saying, I don't know how much I want to focus on productivity and profitability. I really, really want to just make sure that I can get into this and be price sensitive. There are really, really basic, inexpensive timekeeping products out there, and our free version is better than what they are. And so if you're looking to save money, use our free product. I mean, of course, from a fundamental business standpoint, it's like the difference between having a guy use a shovel or a backhoe. Really, the greatest way to save money is to make more money, and that's why we have the pro version, and that's why the majority of our customers do pay for the product, is because like any other tool, your most expensive, your most important tools on a job site, you pay for, and they increase efficiency a ton. To answer your question in regards to contact information, I don't have a slide for that. It's a good idea. We should do that the next time. What we will do though, I will put together, I'll have Dustin actually, because it's him. He's the expert on this and works with our contractors in the tile industry. I will have him send you an email. His contact information will be in there, but we'll also put a Calendly link in there so that people can call him, text him, email him, but they can also just click on a link and they can schedule 30 minutes if they just want to meet one-on-one and say, hey, tell me more about this. This is how my company works. How would your software work? And they can just do a quick strategy session. And so we will provide that contact information so that you can communicate directly with him and see exactly how this would work for your business. And we'll send that email over to you, Amber, as soon as we're done here.
Perfect. And anybody can reach out to me that's on this. And I'm at amber@tile-assn.com. And I can, get you guys together and we could try and, answer any additional questions that we have not gone over just yet.
And because I couldn't get those COVID questions to zoom in, I'll just sum that up by saying that the design is done, we are building it, and we expect absolute worst case scenario, because if you've ever dealt with software companies, generally the timeline they give you is never accurate. We try not to do that, so I'm giving you worst case scenario. The COVID questionnaire at clock in will be done in 8 weeks. We expect that it would be done in 6, but our worst case scenario is 8, and we may over deliver and get it in 4. But that's the timeline of the COVID question. That would be the thing that we don't have in the current product. That's the next release. And we release new features in our product about every 4 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I liked that as well. You guys seem very receptive to listening to your contractors and trends of what some needs are. And so I think that works well with our contractors.
Yep. Contractors can suggest a feature in the product right here inside the product.
Oh, okay.
So that's just right there, suggest a feature.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I think we tried to get all the questions answered as much as possible, but like I said, there might have been some things that we missed. Feel free to reach out to us. I want to thank you all for being here. I'm certain our audience appreciates your expertise and knowledge of this topic, and it was extremely informative. So thank you for your time, and I hope this is helpful to our contractors. I just feel like right now we're all in a time where we're getting more and more pushed upon us as far as regulations and what we need to do. And so it would be nice to be able to find something that can help us move in the other direction and get some of our time back and some of our profits back. And I felt like this might be something that can do that for our contractors. So thank you all for your time. And like I said, you could reach out to me through the website or my email, but we'll try and answer and get any questions you have and get you guys together with busybusy. So thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead and end our webinar now. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.